that, we're going to talk about people, and a lot of conversation today is about there's a big growth of business aviation in India, with even more to come, and a great acceleration in the market, but that can only accelerate if there are enough people in order to service and operate all these aircraft. So that's what we're going to talk about. But Sumit, do you just want to introduce yourself and fly first?
Okay, I'm Dr. Sumit Sushilan, chairman to Divine Air, and owns a company called International Institute of Aviation. And recently, a couple of weeks back, we have laid a foundation stone for a FTO in the state of Chhattisgarh, Bhilai. And this is the first time that I had taken the initiative that we are acquiring the entire airports with 52 acre land with the support of the government of state, and an initiative which 100% funding by the state government for pilot trainings, because this is one of the most expensive trainings which happens in India, and with a complete support from the finance minister of the state and the chief ministers, we got assurance, and we initiated that trainings. So going ahead, I should say that India is a manpower hub. Most of the global market look towards India for the trained manpower. If I'll say not only for a general aviation, even when it comes to commercial aviation, any company starting globally, they first look into India to recruit pilots, cabin crew. The most common example will be Riyadh Air. So most of the pilots moved from India to Jeddah, Riyadh to take a base there. So I think India is a manpower capital of the world.
So we should stop now. There's no point having any more. There's loads of people. There's nothing to worry about. Or not? Is it something you need to worry about with this loads of people?
Definitely, I think India should start training more people, because as we are the manpower hub. But yes, facilities compared to the global market, we are not yet up to the mark. When I should take it to the general aviation, definitely comparing to the neighboring countries, we are still lagging somewhere.
So, Fabio, lots of people are going to be familiar with flight safety. You are active globally. What's your take on this problem in India?
Sure, look, quick introduction. I know many people here, a lot of friendly faces, a lot of friends. For those of you who may not be 100% familiar with flight safety, we are a training organization, mostly focused on business aviation. We do design and manufacture simulators, but by choice, 75 years ago, when the company was founded, it was decided to focus on business aviation, which at that time didn't have access to professional training like military or airlines used to have. So that's where we are. We are surrounded with a fleet of more than 300 simulators. We do provide type rating training, both pilots and maintenance technicians. And of course, we are a multinational company. As of now, most of the simulators are located in the US. We have a learning center in Paris, France. We have a learning center in Farnborough, UK. We have one in Singapore, and we're looking forward to expanding. Now, if looking into resources and expansion, it's not only a matter of simulators, but it's even more importantly a matter of finding the right people to do the job. It's a big effort to select, hire, train the right people. It takes us at least 3 to 4 months to standardize an instructor, regardless of his or her experience. Even we hire a type rating instructor, we put him or her through full standardization process, which is paramount importance to guarantee quality of the training. That is what we have always predicated. We are not there to tick off boxes. We're not there just to exercise. We really want to inject safety in aviation. And that's what it is all about. So attracting people is not that easy. Retain them is not that easy either, because we are in one of those periods in aviation. Aviation has always been highs and lows. We are still in a high period. There are attractive, lucrative offers outside. So a lot of pilots, instructors are really attracted. We do our best to keep them, which means, of course, adequate salaries, adequate quality of life, give them the right tools. As of today, the environment is way more complicated than it used to be. Of course, well, we could spend maybe hours talking about that, but it's complicated airspace, it's complicated aircraft, systems, and even concepts which are reasonably and thankfully injected into training, which is evidence-based training, competence-based training, so many bits and pieces making it a complicated business. Not to say that it's difficult to go through to pass training, but it's complicated to consider all of that.
So, where would you say there's bigger shortages? Is there a shortage in pilots, in technicians and engineers, on the ground ops side, instructors like Fabio just said? Where's the biggest gap, or are they sort of all fairly equal?
I think when it comes to the biggest challenge are pilots for general aviation, but now when person is getting trained, they have a mindset of getting to commercial. And the students who are upcoming for the trainings, they have no idea that there is something called general aviation. They are just school pass out guys who are looking for a career, and they always see a commercial jets. So definitely awareness is a big challenge right now. That's what. So pilots is a big challenge right now in Indian markets.
What can be done about that? How is it that being overcome as a problem? Because if it's a problem, commercial aviation is only growing. So that problem presumably only gets worse over time.
We already started working on this thing because the government, the state government and the central governments had taken initiative for the awareness program by a lot of NGOs who go school-wise. So we have targets that every year around millions of students are getting awareness program in their schools about the aviation, and I had taken personal initiative to tell them about the general side of aviation also. So we are overcoming this situation now slowly.
That's a very interesting point. Actually, things have changed in the past few years. When I was young, kids were crazy about Top Gun and then planes, boats, motorsports, all what was fast. Everyone was fascinated. There's a little bit less of that nowadays. I mean, we see kids into social medias and mobiles and bits and pieces. But there's a lot of misinformation and mixed concepts about that. And we talked about that, we touched on that earlier today, fueled by maybe medias showing business aviation, general aviation like a toy for rich boys. That's not at all the reality. I mean, the reality is that it's an effective tool, an efficient tool, something essential worldwide, but even more for a country like India, which is developing fast and doesn't have such a huge or big or functional infrastructure network yet. So it's really basic importance to do that, and we all collectively as a community should do our bits to educate younger people, to educate people about what this aviation is, which is a tool. We all learned that during the COVID time. If it wasn't for business aviation, things could have been way more stuck than they actually were. And it's medevac, it's organ transport, it's cargo, it's businessmen traveling like crazy on a daily basis, maybe on a small side jet or even on a turboprop, to try and bring business for a company and maybe ensure job for hundreds of people. So that's what makes the difference. And we should really work to against misconceptions and towards education. So it's an effort to be done along with schools, with institutes, with governments, with segment association like BAOA or the equivalents we have in Europe.
Flight Safety don't have a simulator in India currently, do you?
No, we don't. Look, this is a frequently asked question. If and when Flight Safety will do something in India, our corporate headquarters, our senior leadership team is always look at opportunities. I would say it's based on a business case. As of today, the business case is not here yet. It's gonna come, I'm sure about that. Just to give you some rough figures as food for thoughts, a model simulator, full flight simulator, cost anywhere between 15 and 20 million, plus a 7-digit check to be signed to the OEM to get a data package and the developer property. On top of that, of course, you have all the infrastructure, you have all the admin people, maintenance, everything else. So it goes by itself. A single simulator preset somewhere wouldn't do a big business, but even more interestingly, a successful simulator like those you have in airline business runs 6,000 to 7,000 hours a year, meaning more than 20 hours a day times 300 days. So let's say 6,000 for the sake of the example. If we take 1/3 of that, if we take 2,000 hours as a sort of viable business case, and considering, again, easy numbers, 10 hours per pilot per year, recurrent training plus PPC, you are at 200 pilots to make it somewhat workable. 200 pilots divided by a crew factor of 3, again, more or less average, 3 pilots per aircraft, it makes still 65 to 70 aircraft. And in India, we don't have 70 airframes of the same type. So it's not easy a business case. It is easier in airline, and of course, we are maybe looking at exploring options. We are possibly tagging along, even if we are not into airline training. We do manufacture simulators for airlines, but we are not in ab initio or into airline type specific training.
Is that the main decision maker for you to make an investment, the number of aircraft, if there's a certain quorum of types of aircraft in order for you to
Yeah, you know,
simulate
it's demographic, it's fleet concentration, and of course we have agreements with OEMs which play a big factor. Of course, there are discussions, there are talks. We put simulators, we are the OEM directors, which is the case for partnership we have in place like Gulfstream, like Dassault. We always work all together for making the decision.
Is there anything that India could potentially take from other regions when it sort of looks at training pilots or other critical people that potentially it's not doing now that it could look to do in the future?
No, basically, we don't have Mark right now with us, but when it comes to dynamic, when with the facility which they have, the motion simulators, or the cabin trainings, and the teaching drills, the facilities, definitely something like similar should be available in our country, but the investment which we have to put in that's huge. And the number of the private jet which is available right now in India, I don't think it's worth to invest such a huge amount for the training right now, because in this parallel amount a person can easily go and get a training in Dubai and then fly back. Because that's the reason, because a lot of people had approached me to set up the same thing. And when we had tried to take the ROI, no, it's not possible for next 3 to 4 years now also to come up with an ROI for that. So I think right now we are doing good with the numbers of the aircraft which we have, but going further, another 2 years, might be we look for that.
Is people going to Middle East, say Dubai, for training a bad thing? Does there actually need to be training facilities in India for it to service the market growth if it can go to the Middle East? And sort of ideally, obviously now it's more challenging, but could it be done through sort of in those international ways that it's being done now rather than putting it all domestically?
We do have facilities in India to get it trained. There are multiple centers who are training the crew for the cabin and the ground training. But definitely comparison with the international standard, yes, not yet. But I think that we always compare, overall, when it comes to the non-scheduled operators, they always compare the pricing part. Is it good to keep them within the India and train them, or send it abroad and take them back? So So I think right now the viability when it comes, that's the nearby Middle East country is very viable to send a crew to send a train and take it back. So I think, but there are people who are training right now over here. I think because of the old type which they have, that's why they are not breaking up. But there are some regulatory problems are still going on, so the DGC are working on it, and I think this will continue for another couple of years more.
And as far as I can say, if I can add on that, as of today, it has worked pretty fine. I mean, even without flight safety, we do not have centers in India, we do not even have centers in the Middle East, but aviation is by definition a global business. I mean, owners are bringing aircraft for maintenance wherever quality is or convenience is, so even Indian owners may bring aircraft to the Middle East, may bring aircraft in Singapore, or the UK, or France. It's global by definition, and of course, depending on the size of the aircraft and the cost involved, it's just a fraction. I mean, we know that there are crazy costs around business aviation. We know ground handling, we know, basket of fruit or food can cost a fortune. So we are not talking about such a big percentage of the cost of management an asset.
I want to come back to the retention piece. How does business aviation stop losing people to commercial? How do you, once you build it and convince them to get training, to then go to move over to commercial? Because it's a problem we've seen globally. Sort of post-COVID, it was a pilot and a crew problem. Lots of people moved over to the commercial side. So how do you stop that, or what can be done?
When a person is getting trained for becoming a pilot, definitely they never have a mindset to become a pilot for a non-scheduled operation. That's the minimum. If you take the percentage, like around 2 to 3%, pilot might be having the mindset that they want to become a pilot for a non-scheduled operator. So most of the time, what we had experienced while taking interview is the candidates, when we got rejected in multiple commercial airlines, then they choose to come into a non-scheduled operations, thinking that yes, there will be a chance to get into this flying. So that is one. And when it comes to that, if you say for definitely for our industry side, we are bleeding because of the pilots, because mostly people are moving to commercial side, and the reason is the recruitment for a commercial pilots are huge. The recent recruitment done by Indigo in India was 1,000 pilots. 1,000 pilots for 3 months. Within 3 months, they need 1,000 pilots. These type of demands will never come up in a non-scheduled operation. So students know about this thing. That's the reason, they attract more pilots.
And look, there's a lot of again of awareness and communication and information about that. Young people are typically attracted by airlines just by image and what they see at an international airport with the cool pilot wearing the hat and dragging the trolley and rushing. But when talking about details, business aviation pilot does much more. It's not. I mean, don't get me wrong, but it's not that close as driving a bus that maybe on the airline business. It's a completely different arena scenario where a business aviation pilot does a lot of paperwork, calculation, does a lot of honor when it comes to allowing guests on board, is way more into decision making and has a lot of different opportunities in his or her career. So it starts with awareness, and it has also to do with motivation and finding mission, which is probably easier if looking into the business aviation, general aviation business.
That's what the previous said. More work, less money, that's what they think. And when it comes to commercial, less work because most of the works are done by the government departments. So that's why people get more attracted towards the commercial side.
But then if we think about medevac, for instance, this is extremely rewarding. I mean, I have pilots, I have friends, I have a lot of people working in that environment, and this is really motivating. You know that you are saving lives. As well, it is for this aviation pilot bringing VIPs for important meetings, deciding the destiny of their company, or sometimes even of countries, because that's what we are talking about. And airlines, yeah, of course, it's essential to the life of a country, but it's a different segment, it's a different scenario.
I've never seen a commercial pilot load any baggage onto an aircraft, but that's another thing that private pilots sometimes have to do, so there's other things that they have to do.
Very much so.
I do agree because I did a charter from Dubai, and my captain was supporting us to take the bags on board. So that's what happened with the non-scheduled operation. For the commercial, yes, it's quite easy. Just come, fly, give up and move off.
They just like being able to hide in the cockpit in a commercial flight. That's what they like doing now.
On the other hand, if you think about loading the baggage of the Hollywood movie star or top singer or Formula One champion,
Yeah.
it's something you'll be bragging about. You know what? I actually loaded the case of
Very true. That should be a selling point. Then I want to move on to the technology side. Obviously, your simulators are hugely expensive, 15, 20 million at the least. What's happening in the sort of technology space to accelerate training times and just build that runway of people?
a lot going on behind the scenes there. We are, first off, simulators used to be way less complicated than they are today. Until maybe 30, 40 years ago, you had an airframe with a static or dynamic model, and it was just the flight envelope with all the controls and everything pretty much standard. You had standard avionics, 6 packs, just giving you basic information taken from basic sensors on the airplane, and you had engines, and all of that was split, was separated, so you didn't have that many integration. Nowadays, it's all about integration. I mean, you cannot easily split controls, which more often are fly-by-wire, with avionics, with engines equipped with FADEC, with all the systems you have on an aircraft, which is inherent complication on a simulator already. On top of that, you add all what is necessary today to track performance and to deliver real-time feedback. And that's where data collection, analysis, AI go in. So the idea, and that's what we are working already, is that real-time, an IA system will be able to analyze the performance, compare with ideal performance or statistically best of class, and provide the instructor with inputs on what to train, what to insist on, which are the weak areas, which are the strong areas. So there's quite a lot going behind. And of course it goes towards safety, which is paramount, and that's very basic, but also making it more efficient and effective. And of course looking into virtual reality, mixed reality. There are a lot of bits and pieces which are going to become standard part of the simulator training.
Are you looking at how you can shorten the instructor standardization process, that sort of 3-month process, and how technology can help with that as well?
Yeah, we are looking into that as well, even if of course you cannot compress it more than enough, because I mean a human being, a human mind has limits. So if you want to reach a certain standard, you can do something to shorten up, but you cannot actually compress or skip information.
Sumit, have you got any thoughts on the role technology's got to play in this people problem?
Yeah, definitely in India, the big corporate houses are getting into trainings now. The few big players who own multiple airports now, they are into trainings. So we are looking for advanced technology to be implemented for even for pilot training and simulators.
And what about moves? There's conversations around moving from a sort of the simulator, the hours-based training process towards the digital and competency-based structures to potentially speed this up. What are your guys' thoughts on that, moving off the hours-based model?
Well, now one of the buzzwords is risk proportional training and a rich proportional approach. Of course, there are things or elements where you need practical, you need hands-on training, and that's where all the cases where you need to build muscle memory. I mean, if you are in an emergency situation, depending on the situation, you need to act somewhat faster, and then look at the list, look at the checklist. You want to have everything injecting in your mind very quickly. So there are for sure things, let's say more notional, where you can leverage on tools and digital technologies. There are things where some practice will always be essential to make sure that your body will respond in a timely manner to whatever happens. It's all about building confidence, about building proficiency and preparedness more than meeting standards.
One final question, because the angry red time's up has appeared on the screen. Earlier, Francisco from JSSI said he anticipates the fleet to double by 2030, which is in 4 years' time. What will need to be in place in order to service those 400 aircraft in India from a people perspective?
I think the government is already started working on it, and right now we got around 40 FTOs in India. The number of pilots, I think by the next 3 years to 4 years, we will have enough pilots. Even there are ground training started in India, so we will be having enough manpower going ahead, because India and the government of India is prepared for the future growth of Indian aviation.
And Fabio, when will flight safety have a simulator in India?
Well, you see, that depends. That's proportional with the fleet. And coming to that, we all know it's going to happen. Of course, it needs patience, as someone said earlier, because it comes along with finding pilots, having training resources, having maintenance resources, maintenance technicians, spare parts, maintenance support. It's a big system to be built to support the entire segment.
So 2028.
Let's see.
Has anyone got any questions from the floor? I realise we're now running up against drinks outside. So
Exactly. And we are separating from the cocktails.
We are holding
it's
people.
hard to stick
We
with
are holding
questions
people up.
when
So-
the cocktail's waiting.
So if there's no questions, thank you very much. Thank you very much,
Pleasure.
both.
Thanks everyone, and a nice meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for today. Drinks are just outside, and we'll be back at 9:30 tomorrow morning.
Por fond, je suis